Zuckers. So we'll keep
cool.
doing that for the shows, and hopefully the Wild don't trade Mr. Zucker, and yeah. So and I'll give some backstory there. So the reason that we do that is, so my youngest son has a very mild form of juvenile arthritis, and he was treated at Masonic Children's Hospital and on the U of M campus. So thankfully for us, it's very, very mild. It's treated with a leave and some shots and stuff like that. But you can just, like, we got to see firsthand, like, what that did for those kids there, and it's just an awesome thing. So
awesome.
We're going to do that going forward. So
awesome. That's great. And the best place to reach you if somebody wants to reach out to you?
You know, literally call in, click in, or come in is kind of what we tell people. So you can come to our website at www.champlininsurance.com, all one word. Call us at 763-421-4900, or just stop into the office if you're in the area. So,
and as you can tell, Tony's very easy to deal with, as we found out. Thanks so much for being here, Tony. We always appreciate it. Good to see you. And
in Vancouver, go to Gotham Steakhouse. Yep, absolutely awesome. He's going to Vancouver for a sales trip coming up, or a convention, so yeah, Gotham Steakhouse.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. The mic is open if anybody has any more live questions. I'm going to ask you seriously. I'm going to ask the satirical question. Oh, no, I didn't know we had somebody in line. Fire away.
So, Russo, if the Wild are going to make a trade, would it have to be for a center? And if they don't, do you think Boudreau might start putting Gramlin back at center to see if they could go for a high-end winger?
Well, I've talked to Boudreau about this a lot because my idea, if they went out and got Kessel, was that you'd have to put Gramlin at center because Kessel would have an absolute conniption fit after one shift with a couple of guys. And or one guy. So we should probably erase that too.
We're not erasing that. No way we're erasing that.
So where was I? Boudreaux's feeling is that, while that makes sense, that Gramlin's best 2 years was playing wing. And that it would just be a disaster to move him back to center at this point, and that they've found a niche for this guy and turned him into a heck of a player, and to change it based on that. So, but you're right. I mean, you try to look at fits, but we have to see what the trade was. What you're going to probably do is, if you traded a guys, you'd suddenly create holes on the wing, because it'd be Nino or Zucker or something like that, Coyle, and you'd be able to move guys around respectively. So I don't think it has to be a center. I think that Boudreau would love to get some right wings in here right now. And that's the problem, is that, look, they've had Parisi and Nino both playing their offsides the last couple of years. Both don't, although Parisi played well with Koivu down the stretch at that spot, I think that Nino does not love playing there. And the other thing is, Nino, when he did love playing there, it was because he felt like he had better looks offensively coming down the wing and shooting, kind of like his Game 7 winner against Colorado. But, one of my frustrations with Nino the last couple of years, he doesn't unleash that shot anymore, even when he plays right wing. So then you might as well just put him back to his natural position if he's just going to be a net crashing guy. So,
any chance that Sokol is going to have a chance of making the team?
No way. I mean, he's going to need time in Iowa to go right from junior to this spot. But I think it's really intriguing. I'm glad they signed him. Chuck Fletcher had to basically at the end convince his guys that, like, hey, we don't know if this guy's going to be good enough if we don't sign him, so you might as well try. So we'll see. But look, he's got natural talents, and I think he's the one guy that it would really be good for him to spend a long time in Iowa, maybe a year, and let's see if he could put up numbers down there. And if he does, he'd be the first Iowa Wild player, or really player that I can remember since like Patrick O'Sullivan with Houston, that actually put up huge numbers for one of their minor league teams. And I think that'd be huge, and then maybe they can turn him into an actual player here. So
good questions. Thank you. Grab a shirt if you like. Seriously, what are you doing with your summer?
Going to Italy on Monday. A couple people here are coming with me, which I'm really excited about. I'm really excited for this trip. It's going to be awesome. And then I come back the day after I get back. I'm going to Denver for Trampled by Turtles. They play at Red Rocks again. I'm also going to see them in Duluth on Saturday. And then what else? Got a Cancun trip. Got a Michigan trip. So
you know what Bert was telling me earlier? There are 3 factors to long life: One is
Coffee.
One is coffee. Lots of coffee. Number 2, I'm not going to mention in public, but you can guess. And number 3 is seeing 2 concerts a month.
Oh, yeah? Well, I could see that.
And, my wife and I go to a lot of concerts. We don't but we don't go to enough. We go to one every once in a while. So we got to go to more.
Yep. What was your first ever concert?
My first ever concert? Oh, see, I went...
What's that?
Buddy Holly, Big Bopper,
No.
and Richie Valens.
No.
I was 10 years old
That's
in Minneapolis,
incredible.
Iowa.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
It was their third to last concert.
Oh, wow. I'm so jealous. That's fantastic. Yeah, you win the contest. I was like kind of a hairband guy when I first started actually getting into music. So my first concert it might have been Rush, it might have been REO Speedwagon, it might have been Foreigner. I can't remember which one it was. But then I kind of transitioned away from hairbands. I still liked them, but those are my first. What was your first?
I don't want to say.
Yes, you're going to say.
Next, we got people online asking
No,
questions.
we don't. We have nobody online asking questions. What was
I
your
honestly don't remember. I remember I saw Toad the Wet Sprocket and
They're good.
And God, who's the opening act? It's oh my God, I can't believe I can't remember. And they still play. I can't think of it. But one was Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was one of my first ones when I was a kid. My mom brought me Sunrise Music Theater. But then I was constantly going to concerts. I mean, I went to Lollapalooza a ton. So I remember when I was young, I saw Smashing Pumpkins and Pearl Jam at Lollapalooza in Atlanta, which was awesome. God, who was it?
By the way, I highly recommend a couple of documentaries. One is the Pearl Jam documentary. I think it's called 10.
Right.
It's fantastic. And what was the other one? I'm blanking. We must be getting old. We're blanking a lot here.
Yeah.
But go ahead. You had a thought.
No, I can't remember what the other concert.
We did go to the Eagles and Buffett concert at Target Field the other night, and it's amazing that U.S. Bank Stadium cost $1 billion and it sounds horrible in there, and Target Field sounds fantastic.
Really?
The sound system's great. It really is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I saw Billy Joel there last summer.
They were, Stage and I were there for that too. It was very good.
Well, first off, my first concert was REO Speedwagon, Styx, and Journey.
Nice.
My mom took me when I was like 12 years old.
Awesome.
It was at the Excel. It's pretty great. So my question is pretty selfish. Last year I bought a Niederreiter jersey. If he comes out of the gate swinging, how early should I buy myself a new jersey to wear to the Excel this year?
I don't know. I mean, if he's coming out of the gate swinging, I mean, that might sell Fenton to keep him. And remember, I mean, it's hard to make trades early in the season when teams are capped out and things like that. So, I really don't know. All I could tell you is he came very close to trading Zucker and Niederreiter at the right around the draft time, and obviously didn't come. So he's thinking of that name, and right now it hasn't transpired.
Well, if he keeps it up and at the trade deadline, the Wild need to make a move, do you think he's going to be one of the most talked names on the team?
Well, again, same thing at the trade deadline. Usually, you don't grab guys with term. So the guys that are usually traded at the deadline are people without term. So that would make it more likely that Stahl are people with only a year or two left. So yeah.
Good question. Thank you. Grab a shirt if you like, or whatever's available at this point. Yes, sir.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
I have a team chemistry related question.
I love these.
Yeah.
Speaking of making him uncomfortable.
There's some things that you just can't talk about.
Sure.
But if you come to Italy, a couple of wines I usually talk about. Poor Ryan was there in Ireland, Scotland. So Ryan is Andy and Claudine's son. And last year, I think it was the first night we all went out. And I pretty much destroyed Ryan's confidence about the future of the Wild in one meeting. So.
I will say one of the great experiences in life is going to a dinner with LaPanta and Russo.
Yeah, I'm getting peppered by LaPanta
and having
right now.
LaPanta tell me that they're going to win 8 cups in a row.
Oh my God!
And having Russo tell me they're never going to win another game ever again.
The last time I had him on the radio with me was exhausting. We were legit.
So it was like
I remember I get this
normal then.
Margot sends me this text. She's like, "You and Anthony have such great chemistry on the radio," and it was because I was really legitimately freaking angry. I'm like, "Are you?" So.
I don't see him ever lose another game.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a bad Lepanta impersonation. Go right ahead.
I'm trying to sell my girlfriend on the Italy trip, so anything you guys can do, that'd be helpful.
Next summer, we're trying to do like Sicily or Iceland or something. So
There we go.
If we do it, Sicily.
Sicily, Iceland, yeah, same thing.
So I guess my question is, when a new GM comes in, is there anything that they can do, or like how do they assess the situation in the room? Do they take everything the coach says at his word, or do they do some sort of backdoor research?
Well, I mean, I don't know. There's a gazillion ways to ask that. I mean, they do their own research, but they are certainly getting intel from the coach, from everybody in the front office, and things like that. So I think Fenton's got a pretty good grasp of what the room dynamics are right now and things like that. It's an interesting question.
Keep asking questions. Just make them as uncomfortable as possible. All right. Hey, good question. Grab a shirt if you like. Did you have another? Step right up. Only if you show us all the Russo emoji one more time.
Oh, no.
This is actually a serious question from Sweden.
Oh, yeah?
Someone's
Wow.
still awake over there.
Wow. So
he
explain to me
asks-
again what a Discord of Reddit is. I don't get it.
It's just a rolling chat room
Oh, okay.
based around the hockey team.
I got you.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How do I get into that? I probably shouldn't be in there.
You'd be more than welcome. You'd
Yeah.
probably be interrogated more than once, though.
Yeah, no, I'll just stick to Twitter.
Good point. Good job. He wants to know if you think there's a stubbornness problem in NHL coaches. Across league, fans constantly complain about coaches playing certain players like Koivu over Halla, and with Vegas' success largely coming because of a coach's willingness to not be stubborn.
Well, I mean, getting back to the dynamic question, I mean, there's a dynamic on every team. I mean, if you have Koivu and Halla, I mean, you're just kind of, if you're Halla, and it's frustrating, I'm sure, for him, but you're stuck there. And any coach is going to do that. I mean, we just saw that. I mean, Mike Yeo did it forever, and everybody thought that Mike Yeo couldn't figure that stuff out. And then you have Boudreau comes in with the pedigree that he's got, and still the same thing happened where guys are pinned behind, and a lot of it's contract dynamics and things like that. And then what happens is you go to Vegas with a totally clean slate, and he was able to earn that type of ice time. And it actually took him a while to get to that point. So it's kind of the way it is on a team that's got guys in set positions. But I do think there just comes a point here where things have to evolve. And we'll see this year. I mean, when you talk to Bruce, I mean, he doesn't beat around the bush. I mean, I do think that Mikko is going to take a little step back and roll in ice time this year, and we'll see. But that's easier said than done. I mean, a big draw at the end of the game, you're going to want Mikko taking that over Eriksson Ek. I mean, that's just the fact of life, especially if Eriksson Ek's going to win 39% of his draws again. That's another area where he's got to, evolve. Not just offensively, but face-off circle. So
One more question.
Yes, sir.
With all the criticism that Granlund and Zucker get of being soft in the playoffs, is it circumstances, or do you really believe that they are players that are going to have difficulty in the playoffs?
I just think the Wild are an easy team to check in the playoffs, and it really comes across in that postseason. They only have a certain amount of guys that you can rely on to put the score. You know, if you're Winnipeg, are you worrying about stopping Marcus Foligno and Matt Cullen and those guys on the third and fourth lines, or you say, all right, we got to check Zucker and Granlund and those guys? I mean, that's just the way it is. And Coyle was obviously playing unbelievably hurt, and now in hindsight, you actually see it. Like, I could think of where we were in the press box was right in their shoot twice zone, and there were so many times Coyle was coming in with the puck on his stick where he didn't unleash shots, and now you see why with the wrist injuries that he had. And so, they had guys that weren't playing well, and Nino was probably just a little bit of both. Wasn't skating well, didn't get to the areas where he could. It was just a bad series for them. It just was, especially without Suter.
Last question of the show, then I'm going to say my thank yous, then Michael's going to give his famous
I have no
not
last thought.
That's why we call it the famous not thought. Fire away.
So even though they're professional players, I feel like a lot of players were comfortable under Fletcher and not really worried about being traded because he didn't do many game-changing trades. Do you think there's going to be more of an edge to their play as they're trying to learn the new GM, or will it not be that big of a factor?
I don't think that they're going to think like that, but I could tell you right now, I mean, it's not daily anymore, but man, the 2 weeks leading into the draft, I was getting daily texts or DMs or Instagram messages from players like, what are you hearing? What are you hearing? There were a lot of guys on edge. All thought they were potentially gone, especially when the no trade lists were put out. Like Fenton. Oh, forget it. This is where you got to come to Italy. Like Fenton, just he is.